The years from 1942 to 1944 were a period of profound transformation for East Bengal. This region was then part of British India. Today, it constitutes the nation of Bangladesh. During these critical years of World War II, East Bengal unexpectedly found itself on the front lines of a global conflict. While major battles were not fought on its soil, the region became an indispensable strategic rear base for the Allied forces. Its location, resources, and people were pivotal. They powered the Allied campaign against the Japanese Empire in the unforgiving jungles of neighboring Burma. This period reshaped the landscape and the lives of its inhabitants in ways that would be felt for generations. It was also the starting point of the famous Burma Road, a vital overland supply route to Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist forces in China. With the fall of Rangoon, this critical artery was severed. The Japanese military machine then advanced north, pushing ever closer to the border of British India, creating widespread panic and the genuine fear of an imminent invasion of Bengal itself. This new reality forced an immediate and massive strategic shift. The Allies had to establish a new base of operations. They needed a new gateway to supply the war in Burma and support their Chinese allies. East Bengal, with its long coastline, extensive river systems, and railway network, was the only viable choice. It became the springboard for the Allied counter-offensive. The region was rapidly militarized. What was once a relatively quiet agricultural province? With Rangoon lost, the port city of Chittagong became the most important Allied asset on the Bay of Bengal. It was transformed from a commercial trading post into a formidable military harbor. Chittagong was the closest major port to the Burma front. This made it the logical entry point for the vast quantities of men and material needed to sustain the war. Throughout 1942 and 1943, its docks and jetties were expanded and fortified at a frantic pace. Ships arrived in constant succession. They carried troops from Britain, they carried troops from America, they carried troops from Australia, they carried troops from Africa and India. They also brought jeeps, tanks, artillery, ammunition, fuel, food. The city itself swelled with a military presence. The narrow streets of Old Chittagong became crowded. Soldiers in different uniforms, speaking many languages. Camps sprang up. Depots sprang up. Workshops sprang up. Hospitals sprang up. The port had to handle an unprecedented volume of traffic. Its capacity was stretched to the absolute limit. Military planners worked tirelessly to coordinate the unloading of ships and the onward movement of supplies, made more difficult by the tropical climate and the constant threat of enemy action. Once supplies were unloaded at Chittagong, they had to be moved hundreds of miles to the front lines in Burma. This task relied on East Bengal's intricate network: railways, rivers, newly constructed roads. The Bengal and Assam Railway was the backbone. It was a meter-gauge line connecting Chittagong to eastern India and the areas bordering Burma. The railway was rapidly upgraded and militarized. New sidings, marshalling yards, depots were built. Trains ran day and night, carrying troops, heavy equipment, essential supplies. The railway became a lifeline, a steel artery pumping resources eastward. Parallel to the railways, the region's vast river system provided another route. Bengal is a land of rivers, waterways as commercial highways. During the war, this network was co-opted for military use. Steamers, barges, traditional country boats were mobilized. They moved goods and personnel along the Meghna, the Brahmaputra, and tributaries. River transport was slower than rail, but reached areas trains could not. It moved bulky goods and supplied isolated garrisons. The existing road network was limited and ill-suited for heavy military vehicles. Allies launched a massive road-building program. Military engineers, thousands of local laborers built all-weather roads. Roads connected towns like Comilla, Feni, to forward areas. The Arakan Road pushed south from Chittagong toward Burma. Building through monsoon-soaked terrain was an immense feat. Roads were essential for moving trucks and armored vehicles during the wet season. Together, rail, river, and road formed an integrated logistical web. They did not operate in isolation. A typical supply journey: ship to Chittagong, train to railhead Chandpur, train to railhead Comilla, transfer to a river steamer, finish on a truck convoy to a forward depot. This coordination kept the 14th Army supplied. The logistical structure testified to Allied ingenuity and East Bengal's contribution. The Japanese military understood the Allied build-up in East Bengal was the greatest threat to their hold on Burma. Their strategy was to disrupt this build-up through the air. Starting in late 1942, intensifying through 1943, the Japanese Army Air Force launched bombing raids across the region. The primary target was Chittagong, port facilities, railway yards, oil storage depots, airfields in Comilla, airfields in Feni, railway junctions, bridges. The goal was simple: sever Allied supply lines and sow chaos and fear, slow preparations for a counter-invasion of Burma. These air raids hit the ground hard. Attacks on Chittagong in December 1942. Considerable damage to the port and surrounding areas. Civilian casualties were unavoidable. Thousands fled the city in fear. An atmosphere of constant threat set in. Air raid sirens became routine in key towns. The bombings tested military and civilian resolve, but the attacks were sporadic. They lacked sustained intensity to cripple Allied logistics. Repair crews worked quickly to fix infrastructure. Supply flow was interrupted but never fully stopped. Allies expanded air power across East Bengal. Major bases near Dhaka, major bases near Chittagong, smaller temporary airstrips near the front, squadrons of the British Royal Air Force, squadrons of the United States Army Air Forces, Spitfires, Hurricanes, intercepting Japanese bombers, limiting damage and establishing Allied air superiority. Airfields also served offensively, launching pads for missions over Burma, C-47 Skytrain transports, flights over the hump to China, drops to isolated jungle troops, bombers taking off from Bengal, fighter bombers taking off from Bengal, attacking Japanese supply lines, attacking Japanese bases, attacking Japanese troop concentrations, supporting ground troops in the Arakan campaigns, supporting the final push to reconquer Burma. While the machinery of war churned across East Bengal, a humanitarian catastrophe of immense proportions was unfolding. The Bengal Famine of 1943 was one of the deadliest famines in modern history. It is estimated to have caused the deaths of between 2 and 3 million people from starvation and disease. The suffering was most acute in the rural districts of Bengal, including many areas in what is now Bangladesh. This tragedy was not caused by a single factor, but by a confluence of devastating circumstances, many directly linked to the war. It stands as the most painful and enduring memory of the period for the people of the region. The Japanese conquest of Burma in 1942 cut off Bengal's traditional source of imported rice, creating an immediate food deficit. At the same time, the massive military buildup in the region placed huge demands on local food supplies. Large quantities of grain were procured by the government, often at inflated prices. This procurement, combined with panic buying and hoarding by merchants, drove food prices far beyond the reach of the rural poor. A cyclone and crop diseases in late 1942 further damaged local harvests. Government policies also worsened the situation. This policy crippled the local economy and disrupted food movement. The provincial government was slow to recognize the crisis and failed to organize timely, effective relief efforts. Prioritizing the war over civilian welfare had catastrophic consequences, leaving millions vulnerable to starvation. The famine left deep and lasting scars on Bengali society. It was a silent, agonizing war, fought not on a battlefield, but in villages and on city streets. Families were torn apart as people left their homes searching for food, many dying along the roadsides. The social fabric was frayed. The memory of loss was seared into the collective consciousness. Soldiers from Bengal fought on the front lines. Their families at home faced a different, often more terrible struggle. The famine is a grim reminder of the hidden human costs of total war. Beyond the formal military structures, the people of East Bengal made diverse and essential contributions to the Allied war effort. Their labor, skills, and resilience were fundamental. Tens of thousands of Bengali men were recruited into the British Indian Army. Many served in combat roles: Arakan Campaign, Burma Campaign, Siege of Imphal, Siege of Kohima. Their courage contributed directly to Allied victory. An even larger number worked in non-combatant roles: ports, railways, airfields. Thousands built roads, laid railway tracks, and constructed airstrips. Chittagong port, stevedores loading and unloading supply ships. Their labor kept the port running. Without this civilian workforce, military infrastructure couldn't be built or maintained. River networks were operated by local boatmen, steamers, country boats carrying supplies. They faced storms and enemy air attacks. Rivers were the only highways. Local farmers increased food production to support troops and workers. Even as the region was gripped by famine, their efforts, though overshadowed by tragedy, were part of the broader mobilization. Mechanics repaired army jeeps, doctors treated wounded soldiers, nurses cared in makeshift hospitals. Local guides helped troops navigate. Translators bridged language gaps. This civilian mobilization was the bedrock of the campaign. Generals, strategists planned in headquarters. Ordinary people's daily work, sacrifice, and resilience powered the war effort, making victory in Burma possible. The region's role as a critical Allied base is an undeniable fact of military history. It was not a theater of grand battles, but it was the indispensable logistical heart that sustained the war in Burma. The ports, railways, airfields were as crucial to the Allied victory as the soldiers fighting in the jungle. This period demonstrated how a region far from the main European conflict could become a pivotal strategic asset in a global war. The immense effort to transform East Bengal into a launchpad for the reconquest of Southeast Asia is a significant chapter in the history of World War II. This intense period of militarization left a physical mark on the landscape. Many of the roads and airfields built for the war continued to be used long after the soldiers departed. The expansion of infrastructure, particularly around Chittagong and Dhaka, had a lasting impact on the region's economic development. Furthermore, the war brought an unprecedented level of interaction between the local population and people from around the world. This exposure to different cultures and ideas had a subtle but significant influence on Bengali society. War cemeteries like the one in Comilla remain as quiet, solemn reminders of the thousands of Allied soldiers from many nations who died and were buried far from home. However, the most profound legacy is the memory of human suffering, dominated by the Bengal Famine of 1943. The famine remains a deeply traumatic event in the nation's history, a stark illustration of how the priorities of a distant war can lead to devastating consequences for a civilian population. It serves as a powerful historical lesson about the responsibilities of governments during times of crisis and the vulnerability of the poor. Remembering this period means acknowledging both the strategic contribution and the immense human cost. Today, understanding East Bengal's role from 1942 to 1944 is important for several reasons. It restores a forgotten chapter to the broader narrative of World War II, highlighting the crucial importance of logistics and the contributions of non-European peoples to the Allied victory. It provides essential context for the modern history of Bangladesh, explaining a period of intense social and economic upheaval. Finally, it reminds us that the impact of war is not confined to the battlefield. The story of East Bengal during these years is a powerful testament to both the resilience of the human spirit in supporting a great cause and the terrible price that civilians often pay in a total war.